Folks, we like to have jokes here and laugh at Hardlands Media, but you know what? I don't want anyone to laugh or smile. I don't want anyone to just, start making fun of Democrats. Because you know something? The progressives face an existential crisis under Trump. Progressives are facing one. Well, what do you mean by progressives? Because progressive voters have left the Democrat Party, okay? But it turns out, oh my goodness, they're a little bit of a quandary here. A quandary. A quandary. That's what they're in. A little bit of a quandary. Progressives in Washington are facing an existential crisis like never before as they brace for the incoming Trump administration. Not only are they at odds with their own party, a party that's giving you the middle finger and that, hey, wait, you sold out your voting base to, with many Democrats seeking to pin the blame for their November losses on them. No, Democrats, you did that to yourself. Progressives didn't help you because you told us to F off. But some on the left are also openly fearful that an emboldened GOP will use its influence against their flank. What is it that we can do that's effective when they control everything, said Josh Griemenhees, who runs the grassroots organization Our Revolution. Well, gee, Our Revolution, maybe you should have listened to people like Hardlands Media, Jimmy Dore, and so many others that maybe, just maybe, break away from the Democrat Party. I mean, we told you to do this. We told you what they really think about you. And that's why I only could sit here and laugh at Our Revolution. Because you guys were suckers in the thing you could reform the Democrats, just like Justice Democrats, brand new Congress, and DSA. They're going to use their state power against us. Oh, no. Anyways, I think they're going to target progressives. It's a very challenging moment. Oh, you think? Oh, you think? Progressives faced their first post-election rebuke last week when Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez missed out on a key leadership post on the House Oversight Accountability Committee, assigned to many of their diminished influence. Yes, because they did it to themselves. AOC and the squad destroyed their own influence. They got a little bit too prideful and arrogant. Not only did fellow Democrats reject their policies, but they preferred an older male candidate, Representative Gary Connolly, whose profile resembles that of a congressman, former Representative Joe Crowley she ousted 6 years ago. Let's be clear here. That was the establishment picking who they wanted. Democrat voters, they played no part in it. Republicans, including President-elect Trump, publicly mocked her efforts. Really too bad that AOC lost the battle for the leadership seat in the Democrat Party. She should keep trying. Someday she will be successful, Trump wrote on a post on his Truth Social, which AOC even retweeted out. Okay, AOC, fine. The loss is emblematic of an evolving political landscape that has proven challenging for progressives over the past several cycles. The 2018 surge of energy that helped fuel the formation of the squad has deflated, with some Democrats questioning its future. Folks, does the squad have a future? Type 1 for yes, Kit. We just got to vote harder. Type 2, no. No. There is no future. There is no future at all. Continuing on, Trump's rise to victory over Vice President Harris all but extinguished the momentum progressives were hoping to carry them forward on Capitol Hill. Okay, see, now this is bull right here because progressives never had any kind of momentum. I didn't get that memo. I saw firsthand how AOC and the squad dismissed Force the Vote, dismissed March for Medicare for All, dismissed the 3-day General Strike Summit meeting. I've seen firsthand how when people have asked the squad members to fight for us and push back, they've ignored. I've seen firsthand how when the squad had their little fun little protest, on Capitol Hill because they forgot to quickly stop Nancy from adjourning Congress. And while the fact that millions of Americans were at risk of being evicted from their homes, what they do, they did their little protest. They were there. Cameras were there. Things got solved, and then they had time to do a little dance. How fantastic. I didn't get that memo. While Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and her mentor, the nutless wonder himself, Senator Bernie Sanders, each has vast national appeal. Hey, do these two have vast national appeal? Type 3 for yes, they appeal to me. Type 4, no, they don't. It's gone. They're popular with young people and working class voters, Democrats. They say need the most help winning back. There's still an open question about whether they can tangibly do moving forward. Well, gee, maybe the Democrats should not have, weighed in on the 2016 and 2020 primaries that burnt so many of us out. Some allies who have helped lift the progressive lawmakers' political career say the members of the left need to look beyond DC now for new clout. I think it's always about organizing, one former Sanders campaign advisor said. The tangible things that can be done are not just about legislation, it's about building a grassroots network that can affect things at every level. From the discussions I have been having with folks, I think it might be happening organically, the former advisor said. Who said that? Was it Fat Tony? Both Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez have long relied on the use of small dollar donations to fund their bids, shunning corporate donations and inspiring others to generate support from people with just a few dollars to give at once. Some are now fearful Republicans are beginning to try to weaponize that small dollar model against them, further stifling their ascent. Well, yes, the Republicans are going to use that, but also the Democratic machine weighed in on the primaries. This existential crisis was their own doing. And Bernie Sanders, being the dumb idiot that he was, participated in that system and allowed the Democrats to not only walk over him, but all of his supporters. So that means if you gave money to Bernie Sanders in 2016 and in 2020, congratulations. We've all been played. He suckered us. And now the Democrats are wondering, oh, gee, does the squad have any kind of viability? They did. It was a lightning bottle in the moment that the squad themselves helped destroy. I know I'm not wrong on this. But that's the world we are in. See, this is why I need to get phased back. Because sometimes, man, sometimes the live stream chat just says some things that are pure gold. Biden 71, you are protected from going to the White House counselor. Biden 71 says you have to cut her food for her on a date. I'm not going to say that was funny, but that was pretty funny. And shame on anyone that laughed. Why would you laugh at that? Why is my audience so mean? Why are you people so mean? Continuing on, Elon and House Speaker Mike Johnson have their sights set on Act Blue, Genovese said. About the platform progressives and other Democrats use for fundraising. They know that's our money source. It's a signal because it's always about the dollars, eh? Always about the moolah, the money, the dinero. Sanders has been critical of Democrats. Sanders has been critical of Democrats. Yeah. Hold on. One more time. I failed to read. Sanders has been critical of Democrats since Trump's win showed key deficiencies in states where many working class voters reside. Oh, you think, Bernie? He has moved away from the unifying rhetoric most in the party used right before the election. Oh, now that it's safe because his good friend Joe turned out to be a senile old bat. Remember, Bernie, you gave up your dignity and your entire audience, your people, because you said Joe Biden was strong and could effectively lead this country. You knew, everybody knew that Biden had some mental deficiencies. Everybody knew. Shame on you. Shame, shame, shame. The economic first approach is what got many progressives with non-traditional backgrounds elected to Capitol Hill initially. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez famously worked as a bartender before taking office, mirroring the trajectories of other squad members. Representative Cori Bush, out, was a nurse, for example, while Representative Jamal Bowman, pulling on that fire alarm, was a school principal. Both were defeated by more centrist opponents in November because they gave a middle finger to their voting base. That's why. Their coalition gone. Facing a lack of potency, others on the left are trying a newer strategy that seeks to merge some of their more palatable progressive goals with areas of populism favored by Trump. The handful of members who have tried to make the case, including Senator, the walking Frankenstein himself, John Fetterman, and hey, Representative row your boat, who's on Unusual Whale's list of traitors, have been met with interest among some on the opposing side. So hang on, folks. Here's the trick. Row your boat, Ro Khanna and John Fetterman. They're going to save the day. You got to trust in them. Many progressives are starting to get on board with the tactic, possibly because there are a few great options. We've got to engage with Doge. And we've got to point out that we think are the inefficiencies in the system, like fossil fuel subsidies. Oh, no one cares about that. He's referring to the thing with Elon Musk and Trump, Department of Government Efficiencies, which is not a formal agency, but a project conceived by Trump and Musk that has received much fanfare from conservatives. That's going to be a major fight next year, right around the expiration of the Trump tax cuts. Another example would be Pentagon spending. No, see, our revolution, this is why you've lost people. Because you're trying to work with people that don't give a damn. You forgot your voting base. Hey, our revolution, DSA, Justice Democrats, brand new Congress. You wanna make your case again, and to all those people associated with those organizations and the quote unquote progressive lawmakers that are still in office. You really want to make your case again? I think you need to go into the lion's den, cross the Rubicon, if you would, cross the Rubicon, and come on to shows like Heartlands Media, Revolutionary Blackout Network, Do Dissidents, Jimmy Dore. Hell, go on the Joe Rogan show if you're so afraid. Go ahead. Make your case. Because, for a long time, you got that big ego and pride walking around like you guys are tens, when in reality, you're ones right now. Those Instagram filters ain't working, and now everyone sees what kind of ugly face you have. But, folks, the Democrats have an existential crisis. My goodness, how sad. Hold on. Here's what's interesting again. People are dying for our own, and I won't say our own Donald Trump and our own Marjorie Taylor Greene because those people are unhinged, but Democrats are dying for people who are willing to stand up, take some assertive action, and call things out as they see them, Freeman said. Okay, now wait a minute. Corey Freeman, a progressive operative and executive director for Future Coalition. Let me be clear here. You did have a firebrand. His name was Bernie Sanders, and the DNC and Clinton campaign worked together to destroy his campaign in 2016. Same thing happened in 2020. AOC and the squad members stopped being aggressive and fighters because they probably got a memo. And then, oh, wait, they stopped showing up on the shows that made them popular in the first place. Now you're looking for your own again? You can't even get things right. But don't worry, folks. The Democrats now also have another situation. And I find this funny. Shout out to Case Study QB. Much love to him.
As the race for Democratic National Committee chair heats up, some Democrats say that they are surprised by what is a lack of gender and racial diversity in the field of candidates. As The Hill reports, the field is largely made up of white men, which is notable for a party that has long promoted diversity within its ranks. Former Department of Homeland Security official Nate Snyder, who is both Latino and Jewish, is the only candidate of color in the race, while former presidential hopeful Marianne Williamson is the only woman running.
No, gee, the race for National Committee chair, you really think this guy's going to be making the great decisions? It's the DNC is a private corporation. It's controlled by the donors. The donors are going to have the final say.
Joining us now is the national politics reporter for The Hill, Julia Manchester. Julia, are Democrats really surprised that there are not more women or people of color running for the top spot?
It's certainly notable, I think, going into this DNC chair race, Simone, certainly after the last election, when you saw a woman of color leading the charge for Democrats, leading the
Democrats. Hold on, corporate media. Again, MSNBC. I'm not asking you to think too much because that's not your strong suit. But the fact that you guys haven't realized that majority of the people you have in the party just royally suck. I mean, they're terrible. They're dumb. They're stupid. They have nothing.
The party ticket. And now you have a field of mostly white men, with the exception of Nate Snyder and, of course, Marianne Williamson. Now, a lot of these candidates that we've talked to, their staffs have said, look, these candidates are focused on promoting diversity. Martin O'Malley, for example, has put out a diversity initiative talking about the importance of hiring staffers of color, reaching out to communities of color, talking about his support.
Yes, diversity does play a key role. I mean, I want everybody to succeed. But you want to know what's going to make people happy? You got to talk about the economy, stupids. Money. Democrats, you have no money. M-O-N-E-Y. Like, you're not talking about the economy. You guys went belly up with that $2.5 billion wasted on Kamala's campaign. You're not talking about progressive policies and issues. You're not talking about really addressing the problem, and that is the party itself. this tells me all I need to know. It should tell all of you that what you need to know is that this little existential crisis, grab the popcorn and let's laugh at them together as a family.
Among diverse DNC chair members. But there's also this question of diversity when it comes to ideological and regional diversity, something we've heard chatted about among Democrats since 2016, when we saw President-elect Trump really start to infiltrate much of the blue wall, those states like Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, which have a lot of working class white voters. So I think there's a lot of debate as to how to sort of form this, or I should say, reach back out to this coalition, if you will.
Senator Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island, he appears to be pushing for an offensive strategy when it comes to dealing with Republicans. I find the dynamics very interesting. I'm a former DNC member, and members of Congress are not automatically members of the Democratic National Committee, right? Some of them are, but by and large, they're not. So 448 members are going to make this decision of the Democratic National Committee. I'm wondering what you're hearing in terms of how the
See, voters, those who vote in the Democratic primaries, you don't make a decision. The party makes the decision. And to any progressive thinking you can reform something this sick, you're horribly mistaken. Hey, Jake, Kyle, bold attempt, horrible execution.
candidates are reaching out to the DNC membership and the pitches that they are making there on what their strategy would be as chair.
You know, it's interesting. I chatted with New York State Senator James Skoufis. He's, one of the younger members running, and he's talked about the importance of reaching into traditionally red-leaning areas. He himself is from a very red district, a Trump-leaning district in New York State, and reaching out to those voters. But we've also heard other candidates talk about, of course, keeping, like I said, the Democratic coalition together, keeping the base very strong. I think the problem, though, and a lot of Democrats, admit this, is that there are cracks in the base. There were a number of traditionally Democratic blocs like Latino men, Black men, who slowly started to chip away towards Trump in the last election. So I think there's a lot of debate as to how to keep the traditional coalition together while at the same time reaching out to
okay. Let's talk about that coalition Democrats had. Okay, let's really talk about that coalition. There was a very powerful coalition that was established in 2016 under the Bernie Sanders campaign when the primary was happening. There was a fantastic coalition of diverse people from many backgrounds who were on board for Medicare for all, student debt forgiveness, getting money out of politics, and following all these great things that Bernie Sanders was running on. It was a true organic movement that was strong, unapologetic, and was winning. And the DNC was openly showing its hand for the first time ever just how corrupt it was. I mean, there was that audacity of hope that was happening there. And the thing is, it was a lie. We have to come to terms with it. It was a lie. It was a lie that was never going to have any follow through because the person leading it, Bernie Sanders, didn't believe it in himself. I think he realized what he created and he couldn't lead. And there was this false notion that maybe Bernie Sanders was that leader. And hell, he did inspire a lot of people. He did. But the thing is, especially for those that had the fight in them, they realized that this guy, Bernie Sanders, just wasn't going to carry on that fight in 2020. And even these quote unquote progressives that got elected into office, they weren't going to have that follow through because there was no accountability over them. There was no organization. And when people build up hope onto a politician, and this is something that maybe a lot of Trump voters need to realize about Donald Trump himself, is that you can't put your trust in the politicians because as soon as we give them all the power, they run off with it. And now Democrats are wondering, what happened to you guys? Where are you at? How did we lose our voting base? Because you didn't follow through with your promises. You didn't follow through with actually fighting for us, and you became incorporated and intertwined with the Democrat machine. Now, I know all about too well here in Chicago with the Democrat machine and what it does to people. This system, as an entire organization, is designed for one thing, and that is to keep people in line and to tell them to shut up. This existential crisis that you face, Democrats, was of your own doing.
Actually, like 2 weeks ago, as I'm talking with folks across the country, some state representatives, and even some strategists, they all said to me, "Oh, the DNC chair's race is very inside baseball. People don't care about that." But while it is an inside baseball, this is a very Washington D.C. conversation to be having. The person who ends up as the chair of the Democratic National Committee and the subsequent officers that are elected, the vice chairs, the secretaries, the treasurer, these are going to be the people that really set the strategy for the midterm elections in terms of reaching out past the House and the Senate, but also the way in which Democrats pick their next presidential candidate. So this is actually very, very, very important.
It is very important. I would say the mechanics of the DNC chair race, how they're reaching out to members, of course, that might be more inside baseball. But going into not only the midterms and the presidential election the next 4 years, but also New Jersey and Virginia of this year, we will start to see those impacts of how they're reaching out to voters, bringing new voters into the party fold, and really the messaging. The messaging is so important. I think from this last election, talking to some Democrats and also a number of independent swing voters, I think the biggest thing they said was the Democratic messaging, to them at least, seemed a bit out of touch. And we know that someone like the DNC chair and the vice chairs could set that tone.
Yes.
The tone of shut up. All those people that they showed up on that map, they're not going to do a damn thing. It's all about collecting more money. And they're going to try and use Trump derangement syndrome to some effect, but it won't be too effective because anyone that was listening has since left. Okay. Case in point, you got a lot of people wondering, well, how come corporate media is losing the views? It's because corporate media was saying that Kamala had in the bag. Now, there are other people, I shall leave them nameless, larger platforms here on social media that seem to be capitalizing on the mass wave of people looking for alternative media. Those are the guys that are going to lead you down astray too, because they always go back to saying we got to vote Democrat. This whole thing, no matter who's the DNC chair, they're not the boss. It's the donors that are the bosses. And what does it tell you about the donors? They don't really give a damn, right? They want to see their money investments return, which is why they're pissed off at the $2.5 billion that went down the toilet. But all in all, they'll be fine. They'll recover. By the next year, they'll be making that money again because they got their politicians writing legislation to make their lives better.
State rep said to me, the Democratic Party seems a little too Starbucks and not enough Dunkin' Donuts, I think was how they put it.
Right.
Lastly, there are going to be some chairs forums, if you will. Think of them as mini debates, but not debates, forums. What can you tell us about those and what will you be watching for?
Well, there's going to be a number of them over the next month. We know that the official election for chair will be on the 1st. What I'm watching for is, I think, that messaging, what they're going to be prioritizing. Like Scofus has talked about reaching out to those red areas, investing more into red-leaning Democratic state parties in red-leaning states. But also, are they going to, talk about abandoning sort of the messaging we've seen over the past 4 to 8 years, or something new? I think the messaging is going to be very important.
Messaging will be key. We'll be watching it all. Julie Manchester.
This is the same Simone Sanders who was also telling people on Thanksgiving to not hang out with their relatives and also shaming people for voting third party and independent. Hey, Democrats, let me tell you why your problems are going to get worse. It's because people are going to remember all the middle fingers that you gave them, okay? People are going to remember all this crap that you were pushing at us, okay? You obviously are not serious enough to overcome your mental inefficiencies to realize that what you said to voters, third-party voters, independents, that you're all secret Trump supporters, or anyone that was upset with how the party selected, their nominees in the 2016 and 2020 primaries, and even now in 2024. The end result is when you spit on people and disrespect people, does it come as a surprise that they would actually leave? They're not coming back. You made it very clear. And all what I can do is laugh. And in fact, whenever I hear a Democrat asking me, please come back, please come back, please come back, here's what I say.
And here's what I think about it.
Absolutely. because all lies will be exposed, to quote the great Cat Williams.
All lies will be exposed.
And as I see the Democrats fall apart and stutter and lie down face first in their own filth, I think it's amazing.
Amazing. Amazing. Amazing. Amazing. Amazing. Amazing. Amazing.
Amazing indeed. You did it to yourselves. I'm not coming back, and neither should any of you.